I'm a good, long friend of Nonviolence International, and I admire the work. And I know Michael and all the other folks at the program, and I support their work and I admire it. I am the founder and director, with my wife, the co-founder, of the Center for Teaching Peace. And we help schools get peace studies programs into place, elementary, middle, high school, college, and law school. I began teaching classes on nonviolence in 1982. So that's almost, 37 years I've been at it. I teach every morning at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School. I'm a volunteer teacher there. I also teach at Georgetown University, American University, University of Maryland, and for 30 years at Georgetown Law School. I'm a pacifist and an anarchist, and I think we would be a much better country if we taught peace studies in all of our schools. We're not there yet. Peace education is just starting out, really. There are about 4,500 colleges and universities in this country. I'd say less than 100 have peace studies degree programs. I taught the first peace studies program in American University in 1984. We now have a major there. Georgetown has a major. Schools like Colgate, University of Colorado, University of San Diego, all that they've been doing, and many, many other schools, but it's still not universally done. The way you have math classes. And so I teach a high school class. They're all seniors. They've been in school for 12 years. And they're all taking math every year. And they're all taking science every year. But this is the first time they've ever had a peace class. So it's a new topic for them. And there are all kinds of violence. There's military violence, emotional violence, environmental violence, homophobic violence, sexual violence, prison violence, corporate violence, domestic violence, handgun violence, assault weapons violence, violence towards the animals, academic violence, athletic violence, highway violence, schoolyard violence, religion-based violence, political violence, verbal violence. You have enough of that?
Yeah, that's good.
Did I make my point on that one?
Absolutely.
So there it is. Every place you go, you have people solving their conflicts with one of those types of violence. And we are not, very few schools are teaching alternatives to violence. And there are alternatives. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm a journalist. I used to write for the Washington Post for about 30 years. And I interviewed many of the great peacemakers. Desmond Tutu, South Africa, Maywood Corrigan from Belfast, Perez Esquivel from Buenos Aires, Mother Teresa from Calcutta, Rigoberto Menchu from Guatemala. And I'd always ask them, how do we go about increasing peace and decreasing violence, which ought to be the purpose of our lives if you seek a life of purpose? So the answer almost always came back. You need to go where people are, because people keep solving conflicts with violent force. So the advice was sound, and I took it to a local high school near my office at the Washington Post in 1982, and asked the principal. They invited me to come over and give a talk about how to be a writer. And I said, no, I'd rather come and teach peace, which became the title of one of my books. I'd rather teach peace. And so I began the class, and it was a very poor school. No cafeteria, no gym, no auditorium, no lockers, no athletic fields, and the closest school to the White House, only 5 blocks away from power. No president has ever walked those 5 blocks to come to school, nor did the Obama girls go to that school. They could have. They went to one of the elite private schools in town, Sidwell Friends, fine school. But Obama said, well, my heart is in the public schools, but of course not his daughters. So I taught the class. It's not a very difficult class to teach. You read the literature piece, and you read some Gandhi, King, Merton, Day, Mustang, Jesus, Francis, Amos, Tolstoy, Einstein, Buddha, Sojourner Truth, Anne Ballou, George Fox, John Woolman, Dan Berrigan, Phil Berrigan, and Howard Zinn. And that's on the first day we do that. Second day we go a little deeper. So the literature is there, but we don't. It's hard to persuade schools to adopt peace studies programs. It's kind of dismissed. Well, that's an old 60s Joan Baez, Bob Dylan talk. No. It's current. We have a very militaristic government. Martin Luther King, who I almost interviewed, King always said that my government is the world's most violent. And he said, any country that spends more money on military programs than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death. That's his famous speech in 1967, April 4th, Riverside Church in New York. We are still a violent government. We have been at our longest war in history is in Afghanistan. We're still there. And college folks, did you graduate from college owing money?
No, I graduate in December.
You're going to graduate in December. We got to pay a few bills off. I mean, that shouldn't be, because the money goes to military programs. I think it comes out to, $26,000 a second is what the Pentagon budget is. Every second, $26,000. We're talking, I think the current budget is about $715 billion. That's just an abstract number for most people. When you say 26,000 a second, I know what 26,000 is. That might be a salary first year out of college. So it's there. And we are a militarized government. We are squandering. We are the most violent government in the world, said King. And I agree with him. So you got to go down. That's where people are. I think we can lower the divorce rate in this country if we taught courses on conflict resolution. We can lower the domestic violence rate. We can lower the abuse towards animals. I'm a vegan and vegetarian, and animal agriculture is a major cause of global warming. I've yet to hear one politician say we ought to stop eating meat. We're committing earthicide, and that's happening. They won't go near that topic. What I do in my classes, plus the animal cruelty, but what right do we have to kill animals for food? There's plenty of, so I support Beyond Meat, organizations like that. And I get around by my bicycle. I bicycle about 3,000 miles a year. I have a dark side, however, to my bicycling. I love it when there are traffic jams. And I kind of breeze right on through. And for a couple of seconds, I feel so morally superior to all those people causing global warming. Just for a couple of seconds. If it lasts long, it's hubris. Or that German word, schadenfreude, enjoying other people's misery as they're parked in those steel cages known as cars. Anyway, that's my dark side. Yes, they give peace awards, and I was very lucky to have won one. I think it was for 15,000, 20. And I think it might have been, I had one of the Hibri sons in my class at American University. And I believe I gave him an A for the course. So I think maybe the son said, Daddy, this professor gave me an A. We got to, I give him more money, would you? That's my suspicion. But he was a very good student. So they're very generous, and I was most grateful.
What were you working on at the time that awarded you the prize?
Oh, just my teaching. I mean, I've been at it since 1982. That's 18 and 19. It's 37 years. So I don't think anybody has been teaching peace studies that long. And maybe they have, but I teach high school where I'm not paid. And adjuncts make very little. I'm an adjunct, so I'm one of those bellwether professors. You teach one class here, the one class there. And there are two types of adjunct professors. There are those who don't need the money. They're guys like me. And we're what they call, we're the hobby professors. We have a little hobby. Gets us outside to go be with the young people. Aren't they wonderful? And then you have the ones that really need the money. That have just got their PhD, paying off their loans for the next 30 years. And they make 3,000 there, 5 there, maybe 7, maybe 2. They make maybe 25,000 a year. That's not enough to pay the rent. And universities know this, and they take advantage of the adjunct professors, the ones that need the money. Why should not? They can have a class full of 50 people, and right across the hall is a full-time professor teaching 20. And that prof's making about 90,000 or 100,000, because the adjuncts make nickels and dimes. Universities know this, and it's wrong. And I've written about it for the Washington Post. Well, it's like the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't think Barack Obama should have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize. He became, ironically, a war president. There's no president, I think they can make this claim safely, who for 8 years oversaw wars, plus invasions, plus there were military bases all around the world. So he was a pro-war president. A lot of people said, what has he done to earn the Nobel Peace Prize? Besides giving speeches. And so Al Gore got one. Come on. Jimmy Carter, I think, got one. All people that believed in military violence. So I think for the Nobel Peace Prize, there ought to be one qualification, maybe 2. You have to have been shot at or jailed. Jimmy Carter never shot at a jail, always Obama, and always Al Gore. And maybe Mother Teresa, maybe she's in jail someplace, but anyway, that's, so sure, you look for people who sacrificed a lot, so I always look for those folks to get the award out. But Michael had other viewpoints, but it works out. I like Mubarak very much because I remember writing about him when he was in Palestine. And he was telling the Palestinians, stop throwing rocks at the Israeli soldiers. You're defeating your cause. So the Israelis didn't like that because they knew Mubarak had more power through nonviolent force than military force, which is what Gandhi taught, Martin Luther King taught them. And so Mubarak believed in force, moral force, the force of civil disobedience, the force of resistance. Those are powerful forces. As a pacifist, I believe in the use of force, the force of ideas, the force of civil disobedience. But you have to teach that. So there's all kind of force, the force of love, the most powerful force of all. I give my students a lot of homework. And the homework is, after class, go tell someone you love them. And if you can't find anybody to tell them that you love them, what should you do? Look a little harder. And if you can't find anybody, call me up. I know where the unloved people are. They're everywhere. So there it is. And I remember Mother Teresa told me one time, she said, I was kind of getting discouraged, not getting anywhere with my peace advocacy. And she said, very few of us will ever be called on to do great things. All of us can do small things in a great way. I never forgot that.
Can you repeat that just because of the car?
I came to know Mother Teresa. I met her several times. And I was feeling a little bit low. I didn't think my advocacy was getting much anywhere. Stalled. And she said that, listen, very few of us will ever be called on to do great things, but all of us can do small things in a great way. I never forgot that. And I pass that on to my students, and I tell them, our other grade, unless she was a great one-line person, mother was. And she said one time, don't ever worry about being successful. Worry about being faithful. So I think that's important to learn. How do you measure success? How much money you make, how famous you are? No, it's artificial. And you get, you should never feel as though you're successful, because there's still more work to be done. And I try to teach that. And I also tell my classes, we talk about academic violence. They worry about their grades. I teach a high school class out in Bethesda, all seniors. I asked them the other day, how many of you have college admission anxiety? Every hand goes up immediately, both hands. They have anxiety about getting into college. They get pressure from their parents, from their teachers, make our school look good. We want to get into Harvard, so we'll look good. Doesn't mean anything. And then they worry about their GPA. I asked them, what does GPA mean? Grade point average. What's that word point mean? Is that a verb, point? There are the GPAs. Give parents appreciation. Give professors applause. We like that one. Go protest anywhere. Go pray anytime. Give presents always. Give people affirmation. And my favorite is goofs putter along. There's always a few goofs in every class. Okay, goof, putter along, it's okay. So they worry about their grades. They can make all A's and go out and fail at life. I've seen it happen too many times. I had a student one time who made too many A's in my class. His name was Jim McGovern. I said, Jim, you gotta get out of this. You gotta stop studying so much. You're making too many A's, okay? You're missing out on life. So he said, what do you suggest? I said, Jim, I work with a women's homeless shelter downtown D.C., the Carmelites house, the Carmelite nuns run the center. So Jim went down to volunteer, and he loved it. Helping cook the meals, make the beds, sweep the floors. And he loved it. And Jim was working that time for a congressman from Boston, Joe Mobley. And Jim was the staff assistant, worked his way through. I had Jim at American University. And this was in the 1980s when the Salvadoran War was going on, for those 11 years. And so Jim used to take members of Congress down to El Salvador to find out where the money was going. Finally, he said to himself, as most staff people do, I'm as smart as my boss, I should be in Congress. So he resigns from his job, goes back home to Worcester, Mass., his hometown of Worcester, about an hour west of Boston. And he runs for Congress, comes in dead last, got 8% of the vote in the primary, wiped out. Got his old job, came back to get his job in Congress. 2 years later, I'm going to try again. I know what to do this time. He ran as a long shot. The Democrats gave him no money, and his opponent was a Republican who mocked him. Because Jim used to take members of Congress to Cuba to talk to Fidel Castro, the dictator. So the Republican hires a guy to dress up like Fidel Castro. 4 days before the election, it was Halloween. 4 days before that election, the guy dressed like Fidel Castro, standing in a street corner in downtown Worcester with an enormous sign, 4 words on it: vote for Jim McGovern. He's being endorsed by Fidel Castro. It was a dirty trick. 4 days later, guess who won the election? Jim McGovern. He's now in Congress. He's been there for 8 terms, a safe seat. He's probably the most liberal member of Congress. Out of class, and I love him. And I called up Jim and said, how'd you win the election? The Democrats abandoned you, Boston Globe endorsed the Republican? Very simple, he said. I took people, I got the undecided Catholic vote, and the undecided Catholics liked it because I brought, the Pope went to Cuba. So I said to the Catholic folks, if the Pope can go to Cuba, I can go to Cuba. And that's how we got the election. That one little story. And so things like that, and but he's now in Congress, and he's a wonderful father, and a good person. So I'm glad I told Jim, stop spending so much time in the library. Go work with the nuns. One of the great joys of teaching peace studies classes, you often hear back from students 5, 10, 20 years later. And that is really the compensation that really matters. And they write, in fact, I did a book of letters from my former students. And it came about through Harper Lee. Now, what's my connection with Harper Lee? Well, she was invited to get an honorary degree at a little college, Spring Hill College in Mobile, Alabama. And I was invited also to get an honorary degree. Harper's was deserved, okay? Harper's was deserved. But I was giving the commencement speech. And they asked Harper, she's very shy, rarely leaves her hometown of Monroeville, Alabama. So I'm talking to Harper, walking up to the stage, walking down with all the grads. I asked her, are you writing very much these days? Oh, I write every day. She said, what's the name of her book? Finally said, I'm embarrassed, Harper. I don't know the name of your last book. I said, tell me what it is. I want to get it. I'm a big fan. I want to get it. No, I don't write books. I write letters to school children. Little children write, oh, mister, I want to be like that at the Finch. I want to do good in the world. Every letter. So I got letters from school children. I thought, put them aside. Oh, just put them on the someday soon list. So I said to myself, you better start answering those letters from school children. You know, buddy. So that's what I did. It turned into a book. But one student I heard from her in 20 years. She calls up about 2 months ago. I said, you may not remember, but I took your class for 1 year. And I vaguely remembered her. And she was writing a book and wanted to include one of my essays in the book to get my permission. I said, don't worry about copyright, let's use it. So we became friends. She lived in New York. She went on to she went to Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and then became a psychiatrist. She went to medical school, and she's now a psychiatrist. An emergency room psychiatrist at the New York Presbyterian. She's now a professor of psychiatry at Columbia University Medical Center. And her name is Kelly Harding. Kelli, second name Harding. And she just has a new book out. It's called The Rabbit Effect. That's the puzzling name, but it's about kindness. She heard about an experiment where they had rabbits, and they fed one group of rabbits a high cholesterol diet to see whether they would get any negative heart ailments. And then you had another group that was fed on the same amount, the same food. But the second group was being tended by a doctor who talked to the rabbits, held them, picked them up, rubbed them a lot, and those rabbits never got sick. Where the other group of rabbits, well, they're kept in a cage, and no exchange with humans, they got sick. That's what the book's about. And she argues the case that kindness often helps overcome rare diseases, illnesses. So a lot of doctors are not very kind people. They see it on the seminar. So that's the name of her book. It's called The Rabbit Effect. I'll show it to you later. And that's Kelly Harding. And I saw her in New York. I was in New York recently. And she met me at Penn Station with one of her 3 children. So things like that. It's just immensely satisfying and joyful, really, to hear from you. And Jim McGovern and Connors, I had Anthony Schreiber, a member of the Schreiber family, who went on to found Best Buddies, the great program for people with mental disabilities. I took our class one time to death row. I taught death penalty law for a long time at Georgetown Law School. And going down in the bus, many were pro-death penalty. So we were right into death row, the warden welcomed us. We went in and had lunch with the inmates, spent about 4 or 5 hours talking with them. It was so exciting to be there. Most of us demonized people. Oh, but they deserved to kill. Look what they did, these awful crimes they committed. So coming back in the bus, nobody was for death penalty anymore. Half the class was going down, but then they realized this is obscene. We're the only Western nation that still executes. The only one. It tells you something about our culture. We are a small nonprofit. My wife and I have 3 boys, and we use their former bedrooms as our office. And that's because I don't have a lot of lawyers, I don't have a lot of accountants around, I don't have, all the showbiz stuff. So we're very small an organization, and we've been very, very fortunate to get some grants. And we got some money from the Schumann Foundation, and I could have been bigger. I could have hired people, but I thought that would take away from my teaching myself. So I wanted to stay personally involved. Because you got to go where people are. There's all those Nobel Prize winners say, go where people are. So I thought I should do that, and so I often wonder, maybe I should have, gotten more money, and I'd rather shake the money tree, get some money from George Soros, people like that, good people, or the MacArthur Foundation. But I thought I'd be spending so much time scrounging around for nickels and dimes, I could be in the classroom myself. Well, at the high school, you always have a teacher in the class. It's a public high school, and I'm not certified to be a teacher. So I get a little bit wild sometimes. I do occasionally quote Karl Marx, who I like a lot. And oh my God, there's a Marxist at this school. The parents get excited. Oh my God, how did the guy get in the door? I can't be fired. I've not been hired. So if you don't like me, it's fine. I've not been hired. And I'm a little bit radical. I mentioned before academic violence. They worry about their grades. Don't listen. So I did no homework, I did no tests and no exams. And 2 of the greatest teachers ever, Socrates and Maria Montessori, never gave homework, no exams, no tests. So who knows more about education? The Montgomery County School Board or Socrates and Maria Montessori? Take your choice. So I said, come in and relax, okay? Just relax. There's so much anxiety at that school. This area is full of private high schools, high anxiety places. I taught at Wilson High School right across the street for 30 years. Another anxiety school. So come in. There'll be no academic violence inflicted on you. Don't worry about taking a test. And just come in and relax. There's two ways you either learn. You either learn by fear or you learn by desire. And we teach fear-based learning. If I don't get that A, something bad will happen to me. And so, when you take away the exam and the test, you're eliminating fear. And that desire is very hard. There's some blow the class off of law. They just come in and relax and to play with their phones. Go ahead and do it. McDonald's is always hiring. If you want to throw away your education. So if you want to take it seriously, you got to arouse your desire. And many do. And that's what Socrates taught, and Maria Montessori, and the Waldorf schools, Rudolf Steiner taught the same way. But American education is really fear-based. Sadly so. So I'm trying to, that's the steep hill of climbing on that one.